Have you ever felt like your art is a discount version of someone else's? Like, no matter how hard you try to paint, to sketch, to do whatever, the unique style, the signature of yours just doesn't show up. And to make it easier, that's quite universal. Most of the artists have it now, they've had it before, they will have it in the future. So it's normal, it's messy, but it's fixable. So follow us for more information about the unique style, and let's break this one down. So let's talk for a minute, why is it so damn hard to find that unique style? And think about it. You're trying to be original. You're trying to sound, to look, or something that's undeniably you in the world that's loud as hell. So you are itching to do something that nobody else is doing, but you exist in a context. You exist already in lots of noise. And as I've said, having those struggles, those doubts, not understanding where we're going, it's very universal. It's like a default setting. So it seems that developing your style is not about just painting more. It doesn't work like that. It's about constantly, every day fighting the big four of the obstacles. It's the imposter syndrome and self-doubt. It's the comparison trap. It's the abundance of influence. And my favorite, whether it's original or not. So let's tackle them one by one. The first one, the imposter syndrome, or am I good enough or am I crap? That's the noisiest, loudest jerk in the whole lineup of struggles. Like, you probably know it when you are in a good mood, you're creating in the studio, and then this whisper comes in your ear, like, are you really an artist? Do you really think that that's good enough? And then the worst thing you can do, well, stop creating. Because the question of, if I don't have this unique style, am I really an artist? Yes, you are really an artist. It's not the style that makes you worthy of the name. It's the act of creating. So really, the worst thing here is to believe what the whisper tells you to believe, because you will never be good enough for yourself. If the conflict, this inner conflict, is already there, it will go only with some extra work on yourself. So if you already have this voice, it's probably not only about the art. It will not go away if you get better in art. So this is some extra work that you need to do for yourself. But it also doesn't mean that having slight imposter syndrome is bad, because this is what makes you develop. This is what makes you want more, to explore more, not to sit in this comfortable place that you have already found and deny any kind of movement. So having doubts is all right. Having too many doubts is not. But it doesn't mean that you need to stop creating. The second one, overwhelm of too many influences, or I follow 1,000 artists on Instagram and I'm inspired by all of them. Sometimes too much inspiration can be a chokehold. Like, you're scrolling through your feed on Instagram or on X, and you like these artists and these artists, and you want to try so many different things. But at the same time, you need to stick with one, because you need to be consistent in order to be unique, in order to be not unique, but recognizable. That's normal to be influenced. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Our brain just naturally absorbs the influences to then blend them, mesh them, and after some time create something that's yours. But it can still feel overwhelming. Here's the deal. You are not a thief. You are, let's say, a blender. Every artist borrows. For example, Monet's wife from the Japanese prince he loved. The problem's not the influences, it's the overwhelm. Pick just a handful, you dig, and then lean in hard. Narrow the floods to a stream, and your creative identity starts peeking through the mark. Less is more when you're figuring out who you are on the page. The third one, comparing yourself to other artists, or why am I even bothering where there is an artist like that? Comparison is a sneaky little bitch when it comes to being inspired by someone, because it can turn from inspiration to comparison, and not in a good way. You've probably had it. You're minding your own business, you are creating in the studio, and then you get it to Instagram and you see how a 19-year-old found a gallery to represent them, and you're still there in your studio. Social media is both a blessing and a curse. Yes, we can find inspiration there, but most of the time we find depression because we start comparing ourselves to thousands of other people, thousands of other artists out there. And the thing that I advise most of the time, not only to artists, to any person who is influenced by the social media, most of us, as you can imagine, is not to compare your beginning to someone else's middle, because you might not know what is the background of their success that you're seeing on the social media. Maybe they've just been doing this longer than you, so they took the time to come to the point where they are now, where you found them. Maybe it was just luck. Let's be honest here. Sometimes it's not objective. The art world is subjective, and you cannot fully 100% understand why some person is successful and you are not. You can be objective about yourself, and you can do, well, the most that you can do. As simply as that. If you do put the work, the most that you actually can do, that you are capable of doing, then that is enough. And the success will come eventually, but it will take time, and it will not be a blueprint. It will not be a copy of someone else's success. And the last one in our collection, the fear of not being original enough. And the disclaimer here, you can't. It's brutal what stops artists from finding their style, because we've all bought the lie that original means never before seen. And it's not only artists' problem, it's universal for creatives. The secret? Originality isn't about inventing something from scratch. It's about making something feel personal. You don't need to birth a new genre. You just need to make it you. So forget the myth about 100% originality. It just doesn't exist. We live in a world built on thousands of years of historical, cultural, political, economical, societal backgrounds. Whatever we see nowadays, it's not original. It's a reinvention of something. So that's your task. You don't need to invent, you need to reinvent. Now that we know those four riders of the apocalypse, the question is there something that we can do with that? Oh, we can. And once again, the advice here is simple, because there are no complicated answers. There are no complicated tasks to do here. For the self-doubt, as we have established, you keep making art. No other answer here. You resolve the conflict inside yourself, because it's not about the art in the first place, it's about something else, and you keep creating art. The overwhelm of too many influences, pick 5. Limit yourself. Don't let yourself, you're in control of that. Don't let your brain just go somewhere and then find yourself after an hour with 1,000 of influences. So just pick those influences that actually move you. The comparison trap. Oh, the only person you need to compare yourself with is the old version of you. So it's not the other artists' artworks that you look at, it's your own artworks that you look at, because that's the only thing that matters, is that we become better compared to ourselves, not compared to others. Someone else will always be better for many reasons, but it's only important that you're better That's the old version of you. And the fear of not being original enough, well, here you just stop making the fuss about that, because as we have established, it's not possible to do that. So comment below which obstacle you struggle the most with, and follow us for more tips on how to survive the dev market.